So recently, Zhiyun agreed to send over their, give me a second, it's down here somewhere, their Weebill LAB gimbal. And after a couple weeks of using this, I decided that for today's video, I wanted to talk a bit about this gimbal and use it kind of as an example of how you can use a gimbal, the reasons you might want to, and how they can fit into your workflow. So let's get into it. The first reason to use a gimbal is just for smoother shots, obviously, and this gimbal really impressed me in that department. It gave me smoother footage than anything else I've used. Having those nice smooth shots is of course something you can use as a storytelling element to help further the feeling of your video, but it's also just something that helps to elevate that professional feeling in your video if you're doing freelance work or just want your videos to feel a bit more professional. Using a gimbal also allows you to get way more dynamic shots than you could by just shooting handheld or using a tripod or something of that nature, because it allows you to walk around or even run around with the camera as opposed to being limited to just as far as your arms can stretch for a smooth motion. I found this to be most apparent in the Weebill LAB's POV mode, where all the axes are unlocked and the gimbal basically just follows all of your motions and smooths them out. That POV mode is super useful for achieving those dynamic, fluid camera motions, but you also of course have the option to lock off those individual axes for a more specific motion. In addition to enhancing your footage, shooting with the gimbal also gives you a lot more flexibility because it can mimic and take the place of other gear like a slider or dolly. Zhiyun also makes a monopod accessory which allows the gimbal to mimic crane or jib shots or even a drone shot if you do it the right way. And it's not just about flexibility when you're shooting either. Using a gimbal also gives you a good bit more flexibility in editing to go for techniques like a hyperlapse, a speed ramp, or even track things into your footage. So gimbals are an incredibly useful filmmaking tool, but I think we shouldn't ignore the fact that they're a lot of extra weight to carry around when you're filming, and they take a lot of extra time to balance and operate. For this reason, I've always found them somewhat inconvenient to use, but this gimbal has definitely changed my mind about that. The Weebill LAB is way more lightweight than other gimbals I've used and has a nice ergonomic handle for carrying it around, and the bottom handle actually acts as a few tripod feet that fold out if you need to set it down on the ground to just take a rest or even balance it. With this gimbal, you also have the option to lock off the individual axes. This makes it way more easy to balance the gimbal and also makes it a bit safer and easier to store it in your camera bag. On that note, I am actually able to fit this gimbal in my camera bag alongside the rest of my gear, which is dope. And when it comes time to break it down and store it away, these quick release accessories make it a lot faster and easier. And those same quick release accessories can also make it very fast and easy to switch between different modes like the monopod. I kept it pretty minimal and run and gun in this video and just used the gimbal on its own to film my footage, but Zhiyun makes plenty of accessories for the Weebill LAB that you can use to customize it and make it really fit your personal workflow. This phone mount is available that you can use to attach your phone to the gimbal and use it to monitor and control your camera, and there's also a follow focus available for the Weebill LAB. So you can attach this, and if you're using a longer focal length and want to have that blurry background, you can use this to focus the lens without having to reach forward and mess up the balance of the gimbal. It's very evident that the Weebill LAB is designed with convenience and practicality in mind, and for that reason, it really fits that workflow and is definitely going to be staying in my camera bag. So if you're interested, make sure to check out the Weebill LAB. I'll link it in the description below. But that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this video, learned something new from it, and if you did, do feel free to share your support by leaving a like on the video, sharing it with your friends, or even subscribing to my channel. I upload 2 new filmmaking tutorials every single week. But that's all for now. Keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one.